This is the Harmonic Motion Podcast, a place where you, dear listener, can join with automotive aftermarket professionals as they delve into and discuss the matters which matter.
Hello and welcome to another thrilling episode of the Harmonic Motion Podcast. We're doing a technical synchromesh episode tonight with some esteemed guests who I'm going to allow to introduce themselves in a second. So sit back, strap in, relax, whatever your preference is, and listen to the chat as it unfolds. So I'd like to welcome, firstly, to our discussion, Adam. So Adam, I don't know if you could share with our listener, because we've got the one, what's your name, where'd you come from, and a bit about your background, and maybe what you're doing here at TTHQ today.
Hello, I'm Adam. Came from Scotland, owner of the Adam Green Motors business. Short on a journey, came from Poland as a mechanic, spent some time in army, and in Scotland tried to get myself back in within the tools. So enjoying that, and I feel kind of I'm missing the point of not knowing what I'm doing, and then I found you, James, with your genius approach to automotive. And then progress within this channel and get myself to Master Tech, and this is a new renewal. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so we're here doing your renewal. So you did the Master Technician training course, yeah, and then at the end of that we do an assessment which validates your skills and knowledge and understanding up to that point. Yeah, so we're here today gathered then to do Reaccreditation, so to reassess where you are, bit of CPD. And did you win, lose or draw? Have you got through?
I'm good through, yes.
Brilliant.
Got a good few points to dust my knowledge and then learn some more, which I really enjoy, yes.
Oh,
yes.
Awesome. Oh, cool stuff. Thank you so much for the intro. Okay, and next to Adam.
Hi, I'm Nigel. We run a small family business just north of Nottingham. I'm third generation, we're at the same site, so we'll soon be approaching our centenary.
Wow, well done.
It's the one garage I've worked at from leaving college. The one thing I was sure was I wouldn't be coming in the motor trade. And my dad bought me a Morris Minor, and the rest is history.
Oh, wow. Oh, good stuff. Good. And you're same story then. You're with this group, obviously went through the Master Technician program together, so you've come back on the Reaccreditation together as a kind of mini reunion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, good stuff. Excellent. Did you win, lose or draw, Nigel? Did you get through?
Oh, won, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a hard struggle, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Yeah, it is. I think the Reaccreditation, although you've been through the process in originally achieving the Master Technician, I don't think it ever gets any easier. I think personally, when I've done it, I get quite nervous, even though I'm sort of confident I can do it. It's still just that thought of somebody watching you do your magic, and it puts you a very different perspective on the way that you work. I think it's I think you have to experience it to know how different or difficult it is. And you go, well, the fault's relatively simple, but pressure's on, and it's all self pressure, isn't it? It's all pressure you're putting yourself under. But it can make it quite a tricky day, actually. Yeah, cool stuff. Thanks for that, Nigel. Okay, and next up.
Yeah, me.
You? It's you?
It's me. I'm Dave, and again, slightly different story to the rest of you. I actually came into the trade about 10 years ago. So at 26, I went back to college and I retrained as a mechanic. And obviously, I've gone up through the ranks, as it were, for lack of a better term. And obviously, all I do now is I specialise in diagnostic work. And again, as James just sort of said, they're firm believer in the fact that diagnosis is not a spectator sport. So very interesting having people like Wilf obviously stand over your shoulder to assess you. And obviously I was talking to myself and saying all sorts of things that were just sort of coming into my head, which no one would normally hear. And obviously seeing Wilf's faces and reactions as I was saying it and going, okay, maybe what I say now and again isn't quite normal or the right way of doing things. But we got there in the end, and only one training vehicle was damaged in the process. So I'd say that's a win on balance. Yeah,
it is. No, you do doing really well, and I think it is really interesting to observe. You're taking yourself out of your body because you're in your shell and you're doing your thing, and then you've got somebody observing and you're looking at them reflecting what you're doing, and you go, oh, what's going on here? But it does add that element of pressure. I think in another way, of course, it gives somebody that's not, because remember, the assessment is just really noting what you're doing, and they're not going to be critical. I think that's one of the things to say. The observer is observing what you do and making notes. So I think we did the feedback session when we got back upstairs, actually, and I think you won one of the awards of the day in terms of you got the slickest process on one of the jobs, and in a way, I think that adds to the bit of confidence, I suppose. You go, look, I'm under huge pressure. I'm at this thing with my peers doing an assessment, and it's a bit weird because somebody's watching me. I think as a process, you get that feedback about how you did on the jobs, and you sort of know roughly how you did, but that feedback also can support the fact that you are doing it the right way, because you've done it under huge pressure and you've aced one of the tests, you've got the top marks on one of those assessments, and that is, again, as much as it's pressure to come and do it, I think you learn not just technical stuff, but it's sort of reaffirming that you're in the zone, you're doing it the right way, and it's good. I think it's good to get yourself, fair play for you all doing it, because you're putting yourself in the pressure zone and under a bit of pressure. And it's almost like, would you care to jump off this bridge into that very cold water hundreds of feet down? You're going, yeah, go on then. What, Wednesday, Thursday? Awesome, I'm up for that. You always have to be a bit mad to do it. But I think as a method and a routine for assessing, do you feel confident going back to work now that you've achieved the standard of a master tech? And if in the intervening period between you qualifying and you doing the job, actually you've got a big tick in the box to go, you're still smashing it. You are still acing it. You haven't gone off to the left. You haven't suddenly become, clouded judgment and are doing it all wrong. You are on the money. So I think for us as an organiser and having seen these happen before, that's sort of goes unmentioned really, that you've been thumbs up. You're still smashing it. And hats off for doing it. So yeah, good stuff. Thanks for that, Dave. Okay, and sat next to Dave.
Hello, I'm Simon. I'm a heavy goods vehicle technician, which is a bit different. This is totally alien to me. But I first came to you on a 5-day boot camp to try and learn about the use of oscilloscopes, and really realised how little I knew. So basically my journey's been like redoing my apprenticeship. Yeah. And as I say, I got to meet all these fantastic people that have been really helpful and supportive.
Yeah, no, great stuff, Simon. I remember that. I remember the journey, and again, hats off to you for being in that zone of recognising there was something that you felt you needed more of. And fair to say, in the room here, Dave, you are the babe, aren't you? Let's be honest. We're all senior members of the industry.
Definitely catching you up. That's the problem.
Yeah, and for Simon, to recognise that, and then to seek out some training, because a lot of the stuff that you've done is for your own. Is motivated by your passion to become better, isn't it?
It is. It's really addictive.
Yeah, and and you are known as the Biscuit King, of course, because you have this very, very, very cool habit of bringing loads of biscuits and home baked cakes.
It was your fault, James. It was the power of the Jaffa cake at the boot camp that did it.
And I think that was Steve's fault. Steve is the Jaffa Cake King, so it's bounced around a bit. Now we're all affected.
Yeah, but now Coca-Cola flavoured Jaffa cakes. What are they all about?
We can't go past mentioning that, Steve.
No.
I think they've been infiltrated by the Chinese. Are trying to kill the business, aren't they? Yeah. They've hacked the server and said the recipe needs to be Coca-Cola flavoured Jaffa cakes, and see if they'll. Yeah. What do you reckon, Tim? Steve, would you have two?
Well, it's like Dave said. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. I'm afraid it's a no from me.
Yeah. Do you reckon they've turned like the French then? Do you reckon Jaffa cakes are doing what the French do? They're developing their product and seeing how it works on their punters. Is the car breaking down under warranty? Okay, we've got a malfunctioning error in manufacture. Do you think Jaffa cakes are doing that? Yeah. See how many packets we sell, see whether it's any good or not. Product development by stealth. Yeah, no. So, So again, you've been on a bit of a mission of a journey, haven't you, Simon, with your training here, and the work that you've done to boost your knowledge. And again, you had special mention in the wash up of the tasks for the stinker of the task. You won. You've got the kind of best process result time matrix.
Yeah, I'm going to go do the lottery after this.
No, I think it was recognised actually that your thinking was more clear. You weren't influenced some by the technology on the vehicle. You went completely sort of logical. So the way we try and do it ourselves, washing our brains of all biases. Of course, we can't because we are biased, because sometimes the bias helps us to decide. But some of us that would tackle that job would be drifted slightly into other things. And you aced it with the very logical, lateral, measuring approach, technical data, and you got it. So hats off.
No, it was thank you to the golden hour for that one.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, removing bias now, that is a very difficult thing to remove.
You're absolutely right. And it's a funny thing until, people used to look at me when I said it's about thinking about thinking. Thinking about thinking. Yeah. What way do you think? Well, I don't know. I just think, don't I? It just comes out. Well, that's probably not right then. If you analyse the way you think, you can find the errors in your thought processes that make your process better. So if you don't think about thinking, you can never make it better. And I think, you've demonstrating on that job, you've embraced that, and you've sort of stepped outside the natural you and have sort of dictated yourself your own process. So hats off for putting that into practice. And I think it delivers great results in the workplaces if you can do that, because here we've got this sort of self-enforced pressure of the task and what have you. But at work, you've got phone ringing, you've got somebody dropping off parts, there's the disaster of the guy hasn't turned up or the parts are late. If you've got too much job, we're all affected by extraneous factors that can influence our thinking. And I really, I loved that we've seen that, is that, stepping. I don't know if even stepping back, I don't quite know how to describe it, but thinking differently, thinking about your thinking. Bonkers, isn't it, when you think about thinking about thinking? Yeah. Oh dear, we're disappearing down the thinking hole there.
But the practice of having a plan, sticking to the plan, and writing down all your results and your expected values pays dividends.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think I love to call that ruthlessly logical. So I'm ruthlessly logical. I'm not letting my thoughts and beliefs kick in there. I'm documenting it, and if the evidence doesn't support what I'm thinking, I forget the thing I'm thinking. So evidence-based diagnosis, really, isn't it? And your plan, again, where your thinking goes a bit wonky, I think the plan's like the lifebelt in the rough sea of guessing. In it, sort of, you can hang on to that plan and process when you're being tossed about by, could it be that, could it be this, could it be that? Well, the process and the data says my thinking's a bit weird. Yeah,
it certainly tamed the headless chicken approach.
Yeah, but that's fun sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it is, isn't it? You say thinking about thinking. I'm a firm believer that master technician, it's a state of mind. It's a process that you go to, the success and the failures, and it means that you're able to think about thinking, and you're able to approach things logically, plausibly, without bias, without emotion, as you've taught us over all these years. So
yeah, Steve, you're absolutely right. It is a state of mind, and I think that's not known by others that don't achieve it. In a way, a lot of people that are thinking about master tech think it's about a qualification and it's a learning, and it is some of that knowledge based, but there is, as we've just talked about there is a distinct amount of process in it, and there is, I think, of discipline. So I think there's the headless chicken is an ill-disciplined technician that's letting their emotions go, that's rolling all about the place. The master technician teaches you discipline, and I love my definition of discipline got from Mike Tyson. He said discipline is doing something that you hate with the passion that you love it. And that's where pulling yourself onto the process, we're going, I think, no, get back to the process. The discipline draws you back to the chart and the plan you've made. And that's the discipline, as you said, Steve, that's the state of mind that you adopt as a master technician. When all the world around you are losing their brains and their minds, you are that pillar of sense and sensibility. So again, working with others, I know in your I'm going to say job, in your career as it is now, Steve, running the Simply Diag network, and I love the option that guys can pop in and hop into you, accessing you as a resource, kind of when their heads are all in a mess. You must see that and be able to share that benefit of wisdom and go, do you know what, this guy's so close, he's got himself in a complete car crash with his data and his process, and they know that, but they don't maybe know how to get back out of that.
That's it. Yeah. Multiple times daily, on a daily basis. Really great technicians under the pressure of work, pressure of time, pressure of customers. They come in, they're all of a flap and that, and it's my job to say, yeah, it's all right, mate. Yeah, chill. Let's have a brew. Let's have a chat. What's going on? How can I help you? What do you need? Talk me through what's going on, and then you sit and you listen to him for the 5 or 10 minutes. Let them get it off, and it sort of decompresses the situation. And then you can start to pick the bones, sort of the way that you do with us. You can pick the bones. Well, actually, have we looked at this? Have you looked at this area? I'm not sure that you actually really need the thing that you're asking for, but have you thought about this? How does this work? Have you thought about adding this to the process? Oh, cool. And we can walk through it, but we can walk through it both real time. I can take over their computers. They can take over mine. We can screen share, and normally 15 minutes. That's the average drop in. 15 minutes, they're gone. They're happy. They're chilled, and they go back and they get a bit of my calm and a bit of my ethos and that, and off they go happy. Yeah.
I think sometimes it's you get so engrossed in the problem that you can't see the way out, and just to step back and brainstorm or share your problems with somebody, not necessarily that knows the answer, but knows what you're going through.
That's it. Yeah. It's a kind voice, and if you think about it, years gone by, because we've all been doing this donkey's years gone by, it was typed on a forum. It was a telephone call where you can't really see what's going on. Now we can no problem, put the video camera on it. Oh, I can take control of that. Yeah. Show me, teach me, and it does. It sort of halves the problem, doesn't it? They say problem shared.
Yeah, but I think what maybe happens also, Nigel, is that you've hit the nail on the head there. That when you're decompressing, so you're under pressure of the job and the time and the diagnosis decision and all the other schmoz that's going on at work. And I think sometimes you find I'm like Dave. I talk to myself, talk complete and utter rubbish, and when I sort of self-decompress, I explain to myself where I am, and you go, right, okay, you dumbass. But in that process of being able to phrase it in a way, like to share it with Steve, if we were jumping on a call, we'd have to get our order of thinking and the order of the job lined up so we could explain it. Otherwise, we come across like a babbling idiot. So we have to go, right, give your head a wobble, get that into some sort of order so I can tell someone. And even in that process, you go, right, okay, right, my head was distinctly up my backside and I couldn't see the wood for the trees because, the pressure. So almost I think mentally unfolding that and unwrapping it and laying it all out, is a good part of the process.
See, I'm using my wife for it. She's obviously she just patiently listened to me what I waffled to her about the diagnostics. She don't really care what it is, but she knows when I'm talking to her, I'm actually hearing myself the problem. And I find an answer, and half away I'm stopping talking to her, and she's just looking at me and saying, "Did you know what it is?" It's, I know now. Yeah, it's just that simple. Yeah,
it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it just has to go out of my head.
Yes,
and been saying to others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think our heads often described metaphorically as their four walls, and it's a cube, and all the stuff's in there is bouncing around. You have to let it fly on a kite to pull all the string out to get in order that you can see it then in detail. I think when it's bouncing around there, you can't get a fix, and that that's brilliant. That Violetta can just probably like the way my wife talks to me, like I'm nodding, like she knows I know what she's on about. I shall ask her next time. Does you feel better now? Have you got the answer?
like we were at the Blend the other week, and it's like, oh, did you get my drink? Oh, I've not been to the bar yet. You've been away an hour.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I mean, that you know each other so well as a pair as well, that she knows that that's what's going on, and she's not expected to know the answer. Although I know I'm going to check her now because she's she probably does learn some stuff. Yeah, she's going to stop you, woman. I know what it is. Yeah, no, but that's really to have that voice. And again, if you've not got that at work, and some of us have got that in work colleagues, but if you haven't, I think that service that you're offering there, Steve, is like it's breaking the fire alarm thing with the hammer, and just I need some extra help. And like Nigel said, hit the nail on the head. I don't want you to fix it, but can you listen for a minute?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's all I am. I'm like the comfy pillow, the dartboard that you can throw something at, the stuffed animal you can kick across the room, and then everything's good. We spread it all out. We look at it. Yeah. We do corners and straight edges, just like a jigsaw, and eventually, we've done the picture.
Yeah, no, and then that's an awesome thing, isn't it? That reflection, the ability for you to reflect back sometimes. So what you meant was this, and they go, well, no, actually no, but that's the answer. A bit of clarity and thought. That's really cool.
Yeah, but it also helps me as well. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm experiencing faults that I've not seen through a third party. So that builds my skill level and my level of awareness about what's going on in the automotive industry. Because obviously I'm one man on his own, so I don't see that many broken cars anymore. So I learn just as much as the people that are jumping in on the calls with me, So that empowers me. That helps me to give better service to my customers, better service to our members, better service to people that are coming on the calls. It's a virtuous circle, two-way street.
Yeah, like a virtuous circle. Yeah, with that learning from others. Yeah, and it's interesting at that because also I suppose the level, if we're working with others in our workplace. Depending where you are because problem solving comes in all shapes and forms, and a lot of people think that it's solely diag, and well, diag isn't really it's not really a specialism. It's a branch of logic really, and the subject that we've chosen is cars, and the tools that we've got are scan tools, but it's like a mathematical problem. It's the same thing. You have a question that you need to do some research, gather some data, make some calculations, and come up with the answer. And so, although we in the industry talk of it as diag, it's not really. It's problem solving, and the problem solving skills are sort of critical thinking skills. And Simon, as you mentioned there, the Golden Hour course really is about critical thinking skills and helping give you tools to be able to break that down yourself, or not get yourself in quite such a knot. So, to see that working today for you was awesome. For us, again, we love to see people benefiting from the things that we do. The training is really about people. It's not really about training. It's about, are you now better in your work? Are you comfortable in what you're doing? Are you getting some wins and successes? And that, seeing you guys come back and hearing the tales and stories is also great for us because, our job is people. It's not training, really. It's about helping people get better at whatever they're doing. And our specialism is the thing about diag. So it's lovely to see you come back and, to hear what you're doing and see your successes. So that's really nifty. So, Steve, you didn't introduce yourself, so we've made a rash assumption that everybody knows who you are, but just give your name, give yourself a shout out.
Right, well, just in case anybody doesn't know me, I'm Steve Scott, Simply Diagnostics, based in Northwich in Cheshire, founder of the Simply Diag Network, which is an online community for invested professionals of all levels, be it an apprentice or a master technician, factory engineer, whatever. Everybody's welcome. We've surrounded ourselves with awesome partners such as Technical Topics, Pickler Tools, Diagnostic Connections, Opus, All Data, Heller, the list goes on. We've got all the tier 1 suppliers in the country. Yeah. We've got an absolute star-studded list of members, fellow master technicians, manufacturers, master technicians, industry experts, industry influencers, people like Andy Crook, Tom Denton, obviously you yourself. And our sole aim is that everybody that we come across, to enable them and to give them the tools and the knowledge and the will to be better than I am, than anybody else. We be the best you can be, one of your hashtags, So we want to we want to improve the industry. We want to shout out about just how cool a career this is. This is probably one of the best careers to get into, one of the most challenging, one of the most rewarding. And the best thing is, it's in our control. We're the people that decide what we do. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. So, absolutely, Steve. So, how do people find you? So, give you the web address a shout out.
So the web address is www.simplydiag.net, all one word. register for free, and then you can have a look around in the free public sections, have a look. You can see the thread headers and all that from the closed section. If you decide it's something that you'd like to do, you can then upgrade your membership, either a small monthly membership or a discounted annual membership, and that entitles you then to the online web help, the live Zooms. We've got 3 live feeds running from the workshop every day I'm there. The portal, you can come for one-to-one ride-along days in the hub where it's fully kitted out by all our partners. A really nice place to be. And then you've got 24/7 technical support from some of the best people in the industry, people considerably cleverer than me, at your fingertips. And you belong to the most forward-thinking, positive community I think that's out there, and we've got a global reach. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, and you've described that really well. I think that the services and the culture and the structure that you built there is about enabling others, irrespective of the level, to think about improving and self-improving, and giving and signposting access and resources to do that. So hats off, Steve, for doing that. That is you've spotted something really good there, and have spent the last, how long has it been going? Because it seems like a long time, but the last few years really driving the standard.
Yeah, so obviously we started off on Facebook. We soon grew out of that. So the portal itself now has been running 4 years, simplydag.net. It's our own bespoke portal. So that's been running 4 years now.
No, good stuff. No, really good. So thanks, chaps. So I'm going to publicly thank you all for putting yourself further through the torturous experience of a podcast. So not only have we beaten you up all day, giving you, and yesterday, technical tasks and challenges, we've put you in front of the cameras and the microphones this evening. So thanks for giving up your time. Really appreciate it, and for sharing your views as we're about to go through the conversations. And again, the reason for doing this, from a perspective of sharing really from the ground floor the messages, the views that you guys have got, maybe to some of the grown-ups in the industry that we don't get our voice necessarily heard all the time, or the perspective that we've got. So it's a chance again to chew the cud, kind of recording what would go on at lunchtime, making it slightly more formal, but sharing that and gaining that consensus and what we think is good, bad and ugly about the industry. We can get that out there, get other people thinking about it, cause for discussion and debate, and hopefully if there's something really wrong, we can engender change and make it better. So that's the whole reason that we're doing this. So I'm going to start with a question. Now we've got the introductions and we all know who's who and what's what. We're going to talk about misconceptions of the industry. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. Whoever'd like to respond first, please do. If in your clients, your customers, your colleagues that aren't in the industry, friends and relations, what would you think about the common misconceptions? Because we often hear about is it one of the soap operas has got a garage in it, and that's sort of seen as being most people's view about garages, which isn't necessarily great. I think there was an MP last week that sort of dissed the industry somewhat by saying it was like I don't know, I didn't hear it because I don't listen to those clowns, but somebody was telling me there was some derogatory comment. What's the room's view about misconceptions? So stereotypes, are there stereotypes that exist still, or what would be the most wild misconceptions that you've heard or that you suffer from your friends and partners?
I think we went from we being greasy monkeys to a computer solving everything. Seems to be like us, the technicians, us doing really nothing. We just no need to have a brain. We've been once upon a time covered with grease and holding a big spanner, and now we're actually pressing buttons on a computer, and this computer solving everything. I think that's the biggest for what I've seen and hear. It's nobody talking how. Maybe it's true because a lot of some true, I would say, because a lot of garages do not pay attention to go and seek for technical helps, courses. They seems to be still saying, "Oh, it's horrible, it's this and that," but no one actually wants to get out there and find the help and find out exactly how the car is built these days, what is actually involved to fix modern vehicles. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's doable, and with the right approach, and as we said before, with a right mindset, everything can be repaired.
Yeah. So you think some of your clients that are uneducated would come to you because you've got the computer? They wouldn't come to you because you know how to fix cars?
I have better computer than the other garage.
Ah, you've got one of those too. Yeah. So we're sort of diagnostic checkout operators, pressing the button, the machine comes up with the answer, we fit the part and the car goes away. That's a big misconception. Yeah. I think who thinks that's partly because of the way a lot of garages coach their clients. So if they phone up with a problem, we often hear it, come, we'll do a quick plug-in and see what's wrong. Maybe the industry in itself, the bulk of the industry, if we say, the top 10% would be represented maybe by master technicians, you guys that are interested in learning and developing, and then the middle 80% would be maybe comply somewhat to that. I plug my computer and press the button, it gives me a code, I replace the part. Is the industry kind of perpetuating that then, and we're swimming against the tide a little bit to show that isn't the case? Is the industry responsible for the plug-in mentality?
I would say, I said it's our fault, because if we go back to the blue box years, it was all over there. Well, we've got dealer level equipment. We can do anything. We can do stuff that the dealers can't do. We've got the better machine, and we were forever promoting the better machine, the better machine, the better machine. And we kind of forgot to say, well, actually, we've been on training, and we've actually been working until 2:00 this morning trying to suss out this wiring diagram or reverse engineering how this system works. And all we're doing is saying, well, we've got the best machine. So I think it's probably our own fault. We've actually created this problem.
Perpetuated. I often think about, if you think of one of the famous chefs, it's a bit like Gordon Ramsay uses a Neff microwave to make gourmet meals. He just throws the ingredients in there, presses the button, and out comes a 3-course Gordon Blue meal. And I think we're talking much about our cooker. We're not talking about the chef. In a way, do you know what sort of cooker Gordon Ramsay even uses? It's key to his operation and his function. You have got no idea what brand it is, and it could be a really rubbish one. He could cook over sticks, couldn't he, in a pan, and get a really good meal, because his skill is in about preparing and blending the food and his processes. So it's a really good point, Steve, that we are probably thinking we're centric around, because it's one of the tools we use. And I think further down the skill level, those garage owners that don't really know and that have bought a tool from a tool man that is now, we've got this new shiny, they're probably thinking it can do more than it can, and they're telling the clients it's all about the computer. So
that's it.
We need a campaign? Do we? It's not the computer. Well, I am more than just a number.
Yeah. Case in point, all three of the assessments today, no fault codes.
No.
So you kind of go, right, there's no fault codes, Mr. Customer. Your move. What are we doing? If you think it's all about fault codes, what do you want me to do now?
Yeah.
So totally agree. It's definitely, and we've had it on the phone so many times. Well, I've been down the garage on the road, and your computer's better. You think, well, Christ, I need to get this computer, whatever it is, then that tells you the answers, because
It's an interesting one, is it? Because, and it's really interesting knowing in the business that you're involved with there, Dave, is you are being referred by other garages that struggle to fix, that you're kind of the repair, the diagnosis centre of last resort. So garages would have had an attempt at repairing. They might have failed. They might have put parts on the car. I often think, because we used to get it here, that they're using that as an excuse to offload the customer. We spent your time, we spent your money, we've spent some parts on there. The reason I'm telling you we can't go any further, it's not because of skill level deficit in my garage, mate. No. Those bastards over there have got the world's best computer. So you need to go and see Deep Blue. And I think they use that as a reason to not drop themselves in the shit. And so, but tacitly, they're almost perpetuating the myth that Adam said, that we're diagnostic checkout operators, pressing the button, right, that's 500 quid, please. Yeah. And so is there, what could we do in that situation, Dave, where somebody rocks up with a big bill, maybe a fault code printout from garage A, and they land on your doorstep with, right, you've got one of these super duper computers. because it's not really in the relationship that you're going to try and have with that client with that broken car. Your primary goal isn't to change the focus of the misconceptions of the industry, is it? Let's be fully honest. Your job is to get to the bottom of that now. What kind of conversations happen around that? I know you're not directly involved with the front of house.
Well, the thing is, when we do get customers like that, and we do get them quite often, it does usually fall to the technician, myself or my colleague, to actually go and speak to the customer. Because at that point, well, not only do they feel that only a technician can listen to them, and only they can whine, because obviously they often like to bypass front of house. They go, I must speak to the technician, I must speak to them. I think it's not a very popular opinion, especially with my colleague, but my attitudes have hardened, shall I say, and I kind of go out to see them, and I'm not rude, but I say, look, here are the rules for the game now. This is our game, our football. You're either playing by them or not. We don't care what you've been told. Here's how we'll tackle it, and obviously it's an assessment, and then obviously further diag or whatever it is. But again, it's about setting some very clear parameters to the game, making sure they're aware of it. And again, you've almost got to sort of kind of go, look, you understand how we're going to do this now, because it won't be a case of plugging in the box and tell we're going to need to do X, Y, Z. And again, it's all about the communication. And I think once you've got a customer who understands your process, because you're not going to change it. I think we've given the customer the whip hand and choice too many times. I think the only way to do it is saying, look, here's how it's going to work, and you're either in or you're out. And you've said, and again, I admire you for it, because I'd like to do it myself as well. You almost feel like saying, look, what's your budget? Because we get quite a few customers who come in, and once you do the assessment, they go, well, I haven't got any more money. And you go, well, without sounding disrespectful, how could we have possibly gone any further? You've got to say, look, you spent 500 quid on something that hasn't worked. What's your budget to see it through? Because there's no point otherwise. And, again, to go back to sort of, perceptions of the industry, the amount of customers, when you say, look, you've spent money elsewhere, now you don't have any money to go any further. Do you think maybe, as horrible as it is, you should have a chat with the other garage and say, look, can we maybe get the money back for what you didn't fix? But because you think of any other trade, it wouldn't fly, and that's the unfortunate nature of it. Really, is you can't really take people's money if you're not going to fix it. No,
It's very interesting. I've got a phraseology that a guy or girl with a car that's been to another garage that's had a failed repair attempt is like a jilted lover looking for love. They've been annoyed and let down and pissed off by the other garage. They hate garages. They're all bastards. Yet they're still in the market for some diagnostic love. And they're coming to you in desperate needs and having been shit on and had a really bad experience. And almost like beating you up before they even know you. They're going, oh, you lot are all a shambles. So you're absolutely right.
Which is why I like kind of, again, I don't like to be rude and horrible, but you kind of go, we're going to stop now. Yeah. This is how it's going to go. I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear what you think about or what you think it is or what the other garage did. It's either our way now. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we've got to make money. Yeah. And they've got to have an outcome they're happy with. Yes. And that's all it is. I can't, I've got no more emotional bandwidth, should we say, for the abuse and the stories and the sob stories, all this sort of stuff. I can't do it anymore. And again, I don't know how these guys do it because they've been doing it longer than I have. But I've just got to...
You mentioned, James, the customers come up with already having diagnosed the car and then bringing to us and saying, look, this is what it is. I don't want to pay again for diagnostics because diagnostics already been done. Without again any feelings attached to it. It's very quick calculation it's a turbo issue on this, it's a EGR, it's a DPF. So without doing diagnostic, this is a $6,000 bill already. When would you like me to start doing the work? And then it's just, why would you need to replace that? Because that's what you're asking me. Here is a list of things which you think is broken. Yes. So without checking them one by one and actually validating point that your car doing what it's doing, which of these things on that list is reliable for failure. Yes. So the diagnostic is the most important thing to fix the car with a problem.
Yeah, you make the point, I think, and Dave, I get your gist, because my couldn't give a shitometer was round at 12 at the end of my career fixing broken, whinging people. because I was fixing people more than I was fixing cars. I was giving them diagnostic therapy and getting them out of the hole of negativity. I'm going, the car is the easy thing to fix here. It's you fruitcake, that are completely up the wall, breaking my balls and telling me about you. I don't care really. I can fix that car, but I don't think I can fix you. And there is a little bit of that in the relationship that you've got to undertake. But you're right, Adam. The example of the fault code list and can you work from it? I think what other industry would, if you think about anything that involves diag, and the most obvious one, and I'm not making any comparisons, but there is a certain parallel with people and cars. So, medicinal. Could you take your internet self-diagnosis down to the doctor and demand tablets? I've been on the internet and it says this rash.
Appointment.
Yeah, you can't get an appointment. Yeah, but it's a good one. Yeah, you can't.
I'll swap them from some Oasis tickets.
They've got a doctor's appointment. Yeah, but you couldn't hope to take to any professional, and I think that. For me, a misconception is about professionalism. I would almost go, and you cheeky cock, you know nothing about cars, and you're coming in here trying to tell me what to do and the way I should do my job. And I know you're a jilted lover looking for love because you've been annoyed by the other garage, but you went to the other garage because they were cheap, not because they were good, and now you're pissed off that you spent all your money and you're coming here with your sob stories.
Yeah.
Couldn't give a odometer.
Literally, if I'm out in a pub and somebody says to me, "What do you do?" I'm a bin man.
Yeah,
because I don't want that conversation about oh, you're ripping everybody off, or it's just the computer. And I don't even want to get into that. I'm like, what do you do from? Oh, I'm a bin man, and that's it. Conversation over.
Yeah, tax inspectors are the one I use. See them disappear. Then, I work for the Inland Revenue. Off they go.
Have a solicitor. Where would you like me to send the invoice?
But it is. I think misconceptions about maybe not about the trade even, but it's about. I think people are very cheeky. They are undervaluing the technician role in that. Coming with the printout and the evidence is great, but being like you're doing there, Dave, you're putting it into context. You're going, do you know what? You've got some evidence there. It's probably low grade. It's not going to really dictate what we're going to do, but we might assimilate it into what we're doing. The hard news story about you being ripped off by the garage is a conversation for you and them. It's like you coming and telling me your last girlfriend was no good in bed. I don't really want to know it, but it might fill in some of the detail. But yeah, the emotion. I think there needs to be a therapeutic in between the technician and the customer, front of house maybe. How do we deflate all of that emotion to get to the root cause? So should technicians talk to customers? Well, they got to because it's technical. All clients, I'm going to say, all clients aren't the same, and we're picking probably the worst as a case in point. And a lot of people that have had trauma with their cars are very well justified in being upset by the garage service they've had before. But being realistic, they should go back to them with the problem. And the diagnosis is a fresh instance, isn't it? You have to. The diagnosis isn't the printout; it's about the thought process. So maybe we need to be a bit stronger in also reinforcing that the diagnosis isn't. It's about the person, and it is about the tools, and it's about the approach. It's not about the printout and almost popping their balloon when they come with that thought, because we get sucked into it. Because they've said it, we kind of go along with it in a way. We accept it. We go, let me just time out there. Put all that in the bin. It's no use. Why is it no use? Because you haven't got it fixed based on that stuff. We need to restart.
Yeah, it's like you say. If you take all the emotion out of it, it's a simple transaction. You give me money, I will diagnose and repair your car. Yep. That's all it is. It's a business transaction. So if we take the emotion out of it and we remain professional, and everything we do in the public eye and every interaction we have with our customers is professional and of the highest standard, everybody wins. It's our job as like it or not, we're industry leaders, we're all master technicians. It's our job to portray the level of skill and dedication that it actually takes to improve the perception of the public, and even the perception of technicians about themselves, about what they're actually really capable. If they're working for the right employer that's making the right investment choices, you're working in the right conditions. Yep. It's a great career, but it's got to be under the right conditions, and that applies both to the customer perception and the technician's perception. Yeah,
you've got it right. I was just thinking as you were saying there, Steve, if you go down one level to the garages that can't really do diag, that are selling that service and doing it incorrectly, the technician working in that garage is going to maybe be persuaded by the garage owner to outstrip their capability and get involved in a diagnostic job that they shouldn't. So where I think professionalism comes in is the ability to say, actually, that the end of my limitation, I can't do that. That's not for me. That's beyond my capability. And having a confidence as a service tech or a diag tech to know when you beat, how do we get that message through that that's actually okay? So referring it to a specialist because you've run out the end of your road, the job is more complex than you're geared up or trained up to do. I think that's the answer, is empowering garages that are in that zone to say, no, it's gone beyond the code. We've investigated it. We're not putting parts on that we're guessing at. We now need to refer you off to the other garage because you as our client, that's the best thing we could do for you. Because I think the garages down a tier are doing their customer a disservice, and they are probably, denting the trades view to the clients because they're overstretching. They're trying to do business that they've got no business trying to do, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that's probably the message. It's not for us to converse about it, but I truly believe it's down a tier, empowering other garages that it's okay to say no.
Yeah, and also that technician that's saying no, he's identified a weakness, an area that needs to improve. So then, is he going to get that training that he needs from his employer, or does he need to go to a workshop that's willing to invest and willing to equip and willing to train him and give him that opportunity? Yeah. It's no good staying in the same workshop for 20 years and moaning that you've only got one data source, and you haven't got this tool and you haven't got that tool and you've only got one scan tool. Yeah, vote with your feet and go and find somebody that will invest and go and work in it, because the industry is crying out for people that want to learn, that want to get better. There's such a skill shortage. So if you're a technician out there and you're not getting the love that you need from your employer, and you're not getting the investment that you need from him, vote with your feet, go and fight, because there's thousands of garages out there that would love to employ you and would love to train you and would love to give you a nice clean workshop to work in, regular working hours, good salaries, and that. There are jobs out there if you want to do it.
I mean, how does it feel as a technician working in a garage? I can't picture it, because ever since I've been in the trade, my mission is to be learning and to find those gaps and to fill them myself. My first batch of training I paid for myself. I took time off work unpaid to do it because I was hungry for knowledge. But imagine being that technician in that garage that's been told to go and do another plug-in with a tool that's out of date, with no data source, and under pressure because they've sold half an hour of a diag, and you've got to tell me what part I need to order. What's that going to be like as a day in, day out life for a tech?
I can tell you my own experience when I came across to UK in 2004, and I managed to get a job in one of the local garage. I'm an auto center, and then they sent me at night on I think it was Kaiser or something like that, broken down, and so I stopped there. My experience was so far years and years ago as a mechanic in Poland, fixing old cars, well, they're new cars, but nothing like that. I open a bonnet, look underneath, there is everything plastic. The driver stand next to me. I feel like I should know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm pulling out the cover, and I think I pull out the coil. And then I just look and says, I can't repair that. Based on nothing, because it says, I know less than you, because you checked the oil here, I didn't. So I tried to force that coil back in, that never even went there. And I just shift that plastic cover back on, and he says, I don't think you put that thing right. So that's the garage will do that. Don't worry. Bang, shut the bonnet and took him across the 5. And I came back home and I spoke to my wife and I says, you know what, I'm applying for a Tesco job because I know nothing about cars these days. And then she went to Poland for holiday for mum, and then she came back with a couple books. And then I just start reading them, and that they just, lucky was translated from German language. I don't remember the authors, but it was actually transition from the carburetors and to electronic ignition. And I read that book, and it's just like got it, you know. And then next book, and here I am.
Here you are, all these years later, yeah. And then that's you know, I think that's probably common in the room, that we've all got that desire to, and we've probably been supported in one way or another, or have had the self-drive to do it. But you're right, what that feels like day in, day out, to be failing at your job.
It must be like a dog that's never let out, being kicked to
Abuse,
mess on the floor, and the dog sat there going, well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Let me out.
Yeah. And we all know garages like that with a difficult outlook on investment in training and equipment to enable them to do it. And, you know, I was at a conference recently and we talked about the technology rise, and we said, you know what, the processes, and it came around diagnostic charging, and we'll cover that because it's quite interesting, but it came up, you know, that a lot of places are charging a flat fee plus a set amount of time, like at the hour. So the set fee includes an hour worth of diag, and it might be the charge of the garage's normal labour rate for an hour worth of diagnosis. And I asked the room the question, I said, okay, that's probably from 1985, that business model. And if we look at the technology change from 1985 to 2024, let's say that's increased at 400 or 500%. How come the diag hasn't changed in the same order of magnitude? Because the technology of the car has grown 500%. So our diag charge ought to be five lots of 85 quid or whatever the labour rate was in 1985. And how has that not happened? Our process has stalled, but the technology has raced away. And this is why now there's such a stretch between it is impossible on a complex car in a fixed fee for a fixed time to get the answer, because technology says it's impossible. And I said, you know, my own view about that is that still charging your flat fee to do your diag plug-in, it's the definition of insanity that you're doing 1 hour charge over and 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 over. I'm going to say over a few more times, over and over again, expecting it to work one time to prove that you're right. All these years getting it wrong, there is one instance where it worked. It's just bonkers, isn't it, when you think about it? How that model hasn't changed.
I follow your business model. You know, an assessment. Have a look. You think what sets of tests do I need? Charge for the test, not the time, and give them the big number, and then they've got a chance to walk away.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, you know, right customer, right car, right fault. You know, and if any of those conditions are not right, it's probably not the job for you to be taking on.
No, and back to Dave's point about the budget, really, isn't it? How much money have you got to spend on this thing? And they don't think of that often, because I think the clients again are in the mindset of a drip feed of, if I spend another XD doing another diag, I'll get some more. I love that approach and going, look, do you know what? The last 10 cars I've looked at with this issue came out at 2,200 quid. So looking at where we are today, that's your trajectory. How do you feel about that? Yeah. And I use the silent pause. I don't say anything, because I let that sink in a bit. They're going, oh, I came for a diag. I was thinking mysteriously about 85 quid for a plug-in, because that's what's happened before. And all of a sudden you've hit me between the eyes at 2,200 quid. Yeah. That is taking my breath away. I'm going, well, realistically, we don't want to start the dance if you're not going to, you know, see it through to the end, and best not start if that's not the direction you're hoping to go in. It might be less, of course, but I think, you know, painting the picture really sets the expectation. And if they don't want to go at that level before you start, much better not to engage in the relationship, but rather than it sort of break down, isn't it, as you're going through the diag.
And I also think the level of professionalism that you portray, and the perception that they've got of you, and the curb appeal, if you like, what their first impressions when they meet you and they see the workshop, that all helps to sort of it builds that relationship, or it breaks that relationship straight away. You know, if they walk through the door and think, oh, I can't afford this, and then you start with the big number, then you were never going to win that customer, you were never going to win that job. But if they walk through the door like, wow, this is not like a normal garage. Wow, this guy is really professional. He's talking to me like I'm a human being, not some simpleton off the street. He's giving me straight, honest advice. We're all winners then. The customer wins, the workshop wins, the technicians win, you know. So, yeah.
It's a very interesting, one of my approaches when we were doing retail work was to ensure that the client knew I'm on your side. This is not an attritional relationship. You have a problem and I have a solution. So together, for an exchange of money, we will get your problem solved. How much money it takes, I don't know, but you're not fighting against me. I am here to help. I love to do this, and I can help you as long as it fits within your budgetary expectations. And actually that attritional perspective kind of almost deflates them a little bit. So you're not going to fight me. No, I'm here to help. If you don't want it done, I'm not too bothered. If you want it done, I'm here to help. And they like look at you like you wanted to argue over the money. Well, no, not really. No, I'm here to help if you want it fixed. And they go, oh, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Because they've just had a fight with the last garage and they're in that aggressive mode and they think all garages are for fighting with. It's just a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's just odd. But you can understand why. But yeah, being here to help. So yeah, that's a misconception then, Adam. That's pretty deep. I think we've all suffered and had that it is about the equipment, not about the person. Yeah. Anybody else got any thoughts about misconceptions?
Well,
I don't think they appreciate how far the vehicle's moved on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big, they don't, although they appreciate the financial burden they've got themselves into buying it, the level of technology they've bought, they assume it's the same as a Morris Minor.
Yeah.
And if you can fix a Morris Minor, why can't you fix the latest hybrid controlled
autonomous
ADAS self-driving beast that they've decided to drive out the showroom?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really good point. Is that there is no empathy for the technology. Yeah, so this car is much more complicated, which is great. You've got keyless entry. You can walk up to it, swing your foot under the boot, and the tailgate opens, and then it will lock itself. You've got an app and a phone and all this stuff, and you're going, yeah, that's all great until you try and fix it, isn't it? You've gone from a biplane to the space shuttle. Yeah, in car technology terms. Yeah, so yeah, a misconception that the cars are actually straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they appreciate the level of training we have to go through to keep up. No. Not even get ahead, just try and keep up.
Yeah,
I think, exactly. I was just going to pick up on that point, but I think as much as there are, conceptions of the motor trade that need to be changed, there are conceptions that the customer needs to sort of rethink about. As you say, I think customers, unfortunately for them, are going to have to face the harsh reality that to fix their cars, is going to cost them a lot more. I mean, even the cost of servicing components going up, the price of oil. But I mean, you get a Land Rover in, when is the bill any less than £1,000? Do you know what I mean? And you've always got to say to customers, look, and
shall not pass.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes I feel like, I'm maybe older than my years, because I remember when I first started driving and you look through Auto Trader, do you remember that?
Yeah.
You go, oh God, there's a Beamer there, or a Merc there, 500 quid. Oh, that'd be amazing. And then you sit down and go, right, it's 500 quid to buy the car, but you've got insurance, you've got running costs, and all these little things that you go, yeah, it's out of my budget. And yet today, you see people are buying these cars, and you go, did you not sit down and think, how are you going to afford things when they break, or running costs? And you just think, Christ, what happened to people in the last 20 years? They just sort of lost their mind, and they're buying all these cars, usually on finance. They're into it backwards, and then the ADAS radar will go, and you go, okay, well, it's $1,000 for the radar, then it's recalibration, then it's diag, and all sorts of nonsense.
Can you turn that off, please? I don't need that. What was it you said? Beyond the button.
And that's why you've almost, as you say, I'm a firm believer in what you're saying. You've almost got to hit them with look, what's your budget? Because this is a high-end, German car, whatever it is, that you've bought on finance, which has some considerable issues, and it's going to cost to fix, because the parts are the parts. It's our diag, it's our labour, it's recalibration, and again, the amount of customers, they're buying these cars and they have no idea what they've got. No. And you think, Christ, this is your second single largest purchase next to your house, and you've done no research.
No.
Nothing
at all.
I think it's throughout society, that's what we're up against. The car seems to be like a little toy for a little while. No one buying it to be fixing it. Everyone just buying, using it, and just before go wrong, I will sell it. And this mindset create all these issues.
Yeah.
And then, if the manufacturer is not starting doing something about and making the cars better, then we will face that customers or my mindset they don't want to fix it. No. They want to sell it and buy one without problems,
But I mean, you can take that. It doesn't even need to be a high-end luxury car. You take a 6-year-old Ford Cougar with a body module fault, 1,300 quid for a fuse box. But it's only a fuse box because it's full screen wash, mate. You've got nearly a £2,000 repair there for a car that's barely worth £2,000. And it's and that's if you can get the parts.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, and we'll come on to the parts bit in a minute. But you're absolutely right. I think people's misconception. Well, I think people almost imagine that all the stuff that they love, keyless entry and global window opening and self-driving, comes for free. That's just thrown in there, and that just happens by magic. The car still underneath is, like Nigel says, it's a Morris Minor, really, just got some magic stuff like my phone or my iPad. It's just clever stuff. But you're absolutely right, Dave, making that assumption that there's something going to go wrong. So one of the conversations I had with somebody that was particularly rude, I asked them what they budgeted in terms of repair and maintenance on that vehicle. So it can't come as a surprise that it's let you down. So what are you budgeting every month for this car? And it was quite an expensive car. What do you mean budgeting for repair? Well, so you're just expecting it to go on, hoping that you'd run the luck and not ever have to fix it. Where's your disaster fund for the car? I haven't got a disaster fund. So this is why it's quite emotional then, isn't it? Because you're not expecting it and you haven't made a provision. And now you're kind of pressurizing me a little bit because you haven't made a provision in your plan. You've bought this very expensive, very complicated flying machine and you haven't got the budget to fix it. And now I think even reasonably that you couldn't expect a general member of the public to think, right, the fuse box is 1,600 quid, the radar's 1,000 quid. So in this 25,000 quid car, I kind of need 4 or 5 grand in the bin for when it breaks. And so, but that message is probably what needs to happen in the portrayal of your car. You need probably 20% of the value to look after it for the couple of years you're going to own it. And if you escape from that, brilliant, carry that across to the next purchase. But you need a reserve. This brings me on to the point next about trying to cope with unexpected events that happen, and I'm going to mention the W word: warranty policies. Okay.
On that note, I'm out.
The missions and the trouble and the trauma that does anybody here support warranty policies in their business for clients? Would you claim? Would you do the job and expect to be paid from a warranty?
We do.
Cool. As well.
It's on the understanding that our labour rate is our labour rate. The warranty labour company is their labour rate. That's the two different things. They're not connected.
Yeah.
The customer foots the difference. The customer foots the difference in the what's required in the repair. If the warranty doesn't cover half the bits, the customer is responsible, not us.
Yeah.
Not the warranty company, not us. Your car, your problem.
Right. Cool. So are you phrasing the warranty policy as a sort of fund of last resort, so they're not going to cover everything, but they might contribute to bits of it?
Yeah, we'll say if it comes to a £2,000 bill, if you get £1,000 out of them, just think you've done really well. You've got a half price repair, so yeah, it was worthwhile.
We even introduce a fee up front before we start warranty. It's an hour of garage labour, just purely because we have 5 in a row rejection from warranty, and pricing a job, pricing parts, all other stuff, and communication with the warranty company, and we were left high and dry without of any. So we say now, sorry, Mr. Customer, but we have to introduce that fee. If the transaction will go smooth and we repair your car, that will be deducted from main bill. But as upfront, we have to do that. Otherwise, we're not, interested in repair.
No,
I do have a lot of sympathy for the warranty companies. Usually,
Strap in.
Because the main ones we see aren't the ones that the customers own for 6 months. It's I've bought this last week, and now I've got this problem. And I've got this piece of paper, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
So the warranty, the car's obviously been sold with the problem. So why should the warranty company actually be responsible?
Yeah.
The dealer should be responsible for selling a car with a fault.
Yes. Now legally they are.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the warranty companies and the dealers are using the warranty as a get out of jail card. The warranty companies, rightly as you say, are rejecting the claim for whatever wording they've got in their policy. But when all said and done, the warranty company their sole aim in life is to take money for policies that they don't pay out on, because that's where the profit comes from.
A bit like a pension.
Exactly. 100%. It is. So their interest is not paying out, not in paying out, it's not to pay out. So I think that, again, some of the conversations I've had around warranties, and when you explain that to a client, they're going, I've got this golden ticket to everything you've got in your garage because it's got W warranty on it, so everything you can do, just crack on and fix it all. I got the W, got like the Joker card or like the reverse card in Uno. I got one of these, mate. And you're going, yeah, paper written, not worth. Rearrange that into a well-known phrase. But the clients have been misled maybe by the salesperson to say you've got this warranty, anything that goes wrong, and they're kind of sidepoints. So you're right. You're absolutely right, Nigel. The warranty companies, are wise to the fact that there is abuse that goes on. The selling agent might have known there's an issue and they're trying to pass it off. But yeah, legally, the garage who sold it has the obligation of fixing it if it was not an expected fault, if it's not reasonable, has to last a reasonable time. But again, we don't want to get into that conversation, so we're kind of advising your client that you ought to go back to the selling agent because the warranty is probably not going to cover it, and they're still thinking that they got the golden ticket. So yeah, it is difficult, and the warranty companies again are in it to make money, and they will reject the claims, and there's a lot of they jerk the garage's chain a bit by making it difficult. You've got to evidence this and you've got to have it stripped out, and we want to send an engineer in to do an inspection. And the reasons they're rejecting claims are also for very weird reasons. I remember having a claim rejected for a guy on a mechanical steering lock that was an electromechanical, and the pull was sticking, and so it wouldn't release it. The current tripped and the unit would tripped into, it was a BMW, so but it was a mechanical failure, and the warranty company sweared black was blue that because there was electronics involved in it, that they wouldn't cover that. It was a mechanical-based warranty. Now, yeah, the pool's sticking, that's what's wrong. It's a mechanical fault. Yeah, but there's electronics in. I mean, where do you can't win in that conversation, can you? So there's a guy one end got a £700-800 bill for a steering rack. There's a warranty company saying it's mechanical, electrical, and you're stuck in the middle in this, in this mind melt of a situation, going, you're both wrong and right at the same time. But who's paying?
A bit like one of the IMI questions. Which sentence is correct? A, none of the above. D, all of the above. Yeah, let's win that argument.
Yeah, tricky. It is tricky, but yeah, warranty, that's a really good one. Yeah, and new cars that are recently passed. But yeah, warranty is a very interesting one. Yeah, but technology, so clients not really believing the technology got in the car, but maybe being a bit prudent and having a warranty. But again, warranty's not paying out. Do you think that, because what I think, my experience of the warranty companies, there's a bad feeling about the repair then. So you as a repairer have got this sort of negativity around the repair because the warranty company have rejected it, maybe for the right reason. And there's this whole bit of negativity around what is, you've taken a broken thing and fixed it, which should be a win. But there's this whole skew of negativity about warranty companies not paying claims money, labour, charge, time, excess, and the clients go, I've got this golden ticket, just get it fixed. I think that causes certain level of negativity. They think that it's you as the repairer, and I very much think that clients go, well, you failed in your mission if you've not got all my money. How does that work?
Well, again, it goes back to customers taking responsibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're giving them a free. I mean, again, how often have we all been guilty of trying to help people out, only for it to bite us on the back?
Say it only goes wrong when you're helping people.
So my argument always is, when they come to us, and the biggest one for us is we don't really do much of it at all for the reasons you've just stated. But one of the biggest things that happens is the customers say, "I've got warranty," and you go, "Okay, look at the policy," and I know it's already going to be there because 99 out of 100, doesn't cover diag, right? So straight away you're going to be paying the diag. So and they're like, oh, okay, well, I can't go ahead with it then.
Yeah.
Because I haven't got the money, because I was expecting this golden ticket to cover it all. And you go, right, that's fine. That doesn't bother me at all. If anything, great, But as you say, it goes back to them going, I've got this warranty, but I haven't read any of the fine print. I haven't read what it covers. I've just gone, yep, that'll do. And if it was your insurance company and the roof fell off your house or anything like that, and they cite, the insurance company went against you, well, the customer would be, doing the same thing. They wouldn't have any recourse. So why should they give you a hard time?
Yeah, we're in the firing line for the warranty one. That there's associated negativity. Yeah, like you say, Dave, they
sort
read
of see you as an extension of the warranty company, as the baddies.
You're saying no. You're saying no.
Yeah,
not them. Your dial's not covered. What you mean? You're going to charge me?
Yeah.
No. Well, I was always going to, but your warranty company aren't paying. It's a double negative.
The only way you can possibly do it is if you say, look, we will, do the job and do the diag and do the job. We'll do a comprehensive write up, and then whether you take that to your warranty company, and then based on the evidence, they then say, okay, well, we'll pay out, and then that's between you and them on your own time. Because as you say, I think you said, Adam, there you had an admin charge for the amount of time you spent on the phone to them. Because again, that eats up another half hour, which someone's got to pay for. So
Nigel's viewpoint there when he said, where if you get 50% of it, think about it, you've got a cheap repair. That's probably the best way to look at it if you're going to do, if you're going to do business with these warranty companies.
You see, this is the thing, right? IMI, where is IMI on all this talk we have here? Where is IMI to helping customers with the cars? Where is IMI with regulate a lot of aspects in life, garage life and everyday industry? Where is IMI? It's in bubble on a cloud, thinking
it's like the UN, isn't it? It's a toothless animal, really.
They're definitely doing right thing, and a lot of the magazine I receive, and all great. But where is the real world? If they base the real world on a few nice, beautiful-looking garages close to London or somewhere, this is not a real life. Real life is
what we're talking about. You're right. There's this, and to be fair, I suppose in terms of trying to professionalize and professionalism, then they've got a bit of a mission going with standards. But you're right. Where's the regulation from the shady garages? Who goes to knock on the shady garages that have stiffed the guy for a diag and parts they didn't need and sent him on his way to you with a good computer? There is no retribution, really. The garage might get a 1-star review from the client when you fix it, and you're not going to drop the other garage in the mire. But when they realise what it took, but there seems to be no retribution for people not performing or doing a bad job further down the food chain, or even if we were to do it, who are we held accountable to? Trading standards, or is it the IMI? Do you get 3 strikes and actually you can't practice as a mechanic anymore? Is that's getting towards the licensing way of life? I suppose the MOT standard for performance of your duties is kind of quite good with that traffic light and the assessment system and your transgressions. Would that work in general repair land, that the IMI or one of those other bodies gets behind the complainant, or can investigate and go, actually 2 strikes now, like the food, the food hygiene stars you see on the takeaway, that you're actually assessed and they're spot checked and they check you out and you start losing stars until you can't sell your kebabs anymore. Is that what we need? Yeah.
I would love regulation. I would welcome the paperwork. I would welcome the fee.
Yeah.
It will never happen.
No.
But has to be positive, guys.
Well, we all know the MOT system works really, really well, doesn't it? And there's no skirting round the regulations there.
No, but I suppose holding that up as a sort of methodology, I suppose, of could it happen? Is it needed? I suppose that's one question. Do we need regulation as a group of techs? Do we need regulation in the industry?
Yes.
Right. So the people upstairs, the IMI on their cloud, need to listen to that and to take that on and to really make that, as best they can, make that happen.
Enforceable regulation.
Enforceable regulation. Now, here's another one for you. Are you members of any of the other professional bodies? And if you are, do you think that there's a cohesive proposition made to the powers that be in the government? Are they all singing off the same hymn sheet? So the RMI, the IMI, the IGA, and all the other 3-letter acronyms out there, are they supporting this view? Do you feel there's a cohesive, if you were the government, does the motor industry come to you on a united front?
No.
No. But, and are they presenting your view to government? I think. If we all the trade, I think anyone. So a straw poll of everyone I talk to that's sensible about this subject is a yes, we need regulation. And what we hear back is it's not possible, it's difficult to do. They start looking at their shoes a little bit and going, well, we hang on a minute, are we as the trade demanding regulation?
No, but we should be. We should be louder.
Yeah. But we are. We're here saying we need regulation because of the issues that we face with the second, as we're the second and the third garage picking up the pieces from garages that shouldn't be practicing some of these things. We think regulation's an answer to that. If they were, were penalised, or there was some punitive measures or some monitoring even, or somebody went round and gave the bloke a bollocking or signposted him to doing it differently next time, just to say, come on lads, that's not acceptable behaviour. You've stiffed that client, you've taken $2,000 of his money and you haven't fixed the car. We've investigated and it's down to poor practice. Your scan tool's out of date, you haven't had any training and you've got a piss poor data source. That was the root cause of that. The garages are getting away with it, really, aren't they? Some of the garages, I'm throwing anyone under the bus because we could pick garages all over the place, but when the client has a bad diagnosis event, it's generally down to one of those reasons, that malpractice, I suppose, loosely. Yeah,
but what we also need to say, this is not specific to the UK and Ireland.
Nope.
I mean, this is a global problem.
It is.
Both with the misconceptions, the investment, the lack of regulation. It's a global issue.
It is, but I don't think it's an excuse to say it's difficult, and that's what we keep hearing back. They're saying, it's difficult, it's down to the government. Somebody somewhere is not rattling enough cages. Somebody's not presenting a cohesive face. They haven't put a structure in place. The IMI have got there almost with the TechSafe register, so there are enough garages that are up to the standard. One of the complaints that we hear back about regulation from the government, they won't do it because they said if we switch regulation on tomorrow, actually nobody's got anywhere to get their car fixed because nobody's approved, and so we can't do that. If you look at what happened in COVID, we were seen as one of those crucial industries that kept the population going with their transport needs. And the IMI have kind of got it with the scheme that they've got going on with you guys accredited at master technician status. You're appearing on the professional register. You've accredited yourself to a standard. The policy was to get that register going, so the government then have got however many tens of thousands of technicians to start with. So when you switch over on January the 1st, 2026 to regulation, everyone that wants to be in the party is in the party. They've got the qualifications and they've got it. So for me, I think I'm missing that piece. Why haven't we got regulation? If we've got enough people on the register now, we've got enough master technicians, level 2, level 3, EV, ADAS. Come on, lads. Now we've done it. We're here waiting. Switch.
And I think... but I think the really important thing to mention there is it can't just be subscription based. It has to be qualification and professional integrity
100%,
based.
100%.
But I think someone will have to take responsibility for it, and it seems to be the IMI seems to be happy to be budgeted from the government budget, but then actually operates as they will. Not as they has to be, I believe if they're going to be in some kind of frames, they have to develop something. They have to keep these garages up on a certain level of knowledge and so I believe it just maybe seems to be too much for them. It's just...
Well, they've appointed themselves as the industry representation.
Yeah.
So for technicians, so they've taken that mantle on, and I would say, okay, the responsibility of that. If you want to do that, what we're saying is, do we want a referendum of technicians to bring to the IMI's mission should be let's get regulation in and have approved garages. If we're saying that, we ought to all as members of the IMI go to them and say, come on lads, we want this to happen now. Chop, make it happen. Forget all this other stuff, all this other things that you're doing. Our primary mission is let's that happen first of all, because that might raise the standard. That might help with the profitability of businesses, the impression of the trade across the consumer land. It might help attract people in, the youngsters in, because now this is a professional regulated industry. I'm going to join that because I can see a career path. There's a bit of exclusivity and standards and regulation. It could be that virtuous circle. So maybe we ought to start a mission that, come on IMI, let's get regulation organised, please, as soon as you can.
I can't see how it would be any more difficult in our industry than in the gas fitters industry and the electricians.
No, it's not.
It's the same but different.
Yeah, I've never seen a boiler run anyone over either, Nigel. So from that perspective,
if I play with my boiler, I'm likely to kill myself, my family, and maybe the next door neighbour.
Yes.
But not a bus full of people going down the road.
No, quite. Yeah, there is the safety aspect, and I think you draw a really cool parallel there about they have done it in other trades, and therefore you say it can't be impossible to regulate a trade because 2 others have done it. So is it the body that's the problem, not the fact that we want regulation, but is there a lack of will from the grown-ups, if you like, to actually make it happen?
And then also, if you're a technician listening to this podcast, how does your employer feel about regulation? If he's against regulation, why is he against regulation? Maybe it's time to look for a garage that is willing to be regulated and is willing to meet standards and would quite happily welcome that switch being flicked.
And not one sponsored by a product supplier.
No. Exactly. Yeah. It should be completely...
Because if you want to be a good garage, you don't necessarily have to buy a good product.
No.
Quite, it has to be independent. It has to be objectively policed. You have to reach the standards, and I think a lot of that exists. That's why I'm sort of frustrated in a way, and I'm throwing out these comments because I think we've got a framework, we've got the will in the industry to do it. We have a body of people now that are qualified and accredited to a set level. What's missing? When I look at it in the deep, dark, sunshiny days, I'm going, well, why isn't it happening? Yeah. If we want it as an industry, and the government could be cajoled and persuaded into doing it by the industry body if they got behind it, I wonder where the lack of desire is, because I think it would be great. And I think, Steve, I don't think there's a good garage, a professional garage, that is against licensing.
No, there isn't.
There's nobody saying that's a crazy idea. No. There are the conversations that you've mentioned there, Nigel. It has to be independent. It can't be product sponsored. It has to be the body. And the IMI is one of these bodies. They've set up with articles of memorandum of agreement. They're a professional body.
You look at the thing we agree to when we sign up for the reaccreditation, professional standards.
Before we even started the online tests, it's do you agree to abide by our standards?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we all said yes, and everybody else on that register also said yes. So there you go, government. You've got your list. You've got your starting point. Flick that switch.
Yeah, make it happen. Let's make it happen. And I really wish it would. I really wish it would. Yeah. Anyone against it?
No,
not in the room.
No,
not at all. No.
Definitely, it's a way. I think they probably. I don't know if they lack enough people who got this practical knowledge from the industry, and they just took over by people who maybe are fit the job, but the job being appointed by the person or a body who have no idea what's happened in our, in the grassroots of industry. And we just, to me, it looks like the two words going one here, and the body of the government, IMI, and here is going garages, and just like there's no mixing, there's nothing happened really. I don't think if you go to backstreet garages or small garages and ask for IMI, I don't think maybe 50, 60 people, 60% of people will not know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and whose fault is that? How IMI interact with those technicians or future technicians or those people who maybe like to be in a better position but the boss are not really seeing that as a profitable thing to be within the register with the IMI or have any standards. But as Steve mentioned, the mechanics probably wants to be, because they see in the magazines, they see this and this. That's how I came to this as well, because I seen something in magazines. I seen skills, qualifications. I don't want to be this greasy monkey. So
it gives a career path, doesn't
yes.
it? I think with the industry recruitment, I think if you had, professionalism was baked into the industry, people would see it as a great career path, wouldn't they?
Imagine if Kevin Webster had to come and do his MT and got, was an IMI member and he had his little lapel badge and all that. That'd be
yeah. It would, that's the professional
There'd be
image.
A storyline, wouldn't there?
Well, that's the circle. That's the virtuous circle, isn't it, Steve? That's the outward impression of the industry, sort of taken care of. That we are all professional, And it's funny, it is funny, I think. Yeah. So regulation, please. That's the consensus. What I wanted to flick over to now in terms of thought processes is really the direction. So we picked up on car technology. We've picked up on the fact that it's advancing and things are happening, and the clients that drive the cars don't really understand. There's a lack of appreciation about complexity and cost of repair. What do you think's coming then around the corner? What's your understanding or awareness of the tech on the car? This is maybe emerging trends that are going to have an impact on what we're doing. If you could picture forward maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and maybe looking at your customer mix, so the age of the cars that they've got, how do you think your garage business, your day-to-day activity is going to be affected by trends, emerging technology, or the change in trends in the motor vehicle? What's going to be different? 5 years, let's picture on to 2029 in October and go, well, remember sitting in that room there, what did we think was going to be different, and is it different? What does that T-brake look like in 5 years in the future?
Definitely we'll see more electric cars, I think, because obviously they're in a pipeline. And alternative fuels, that's for sure. So, which we in this room all ready for everything. Just whatever hits us in our ratchet, we are ready to tackle, which is great. I don't feel any pressure.
No.
I'm just open a door and just look at what's coming through the door.
Yeah,
I don't think the 2030, 2035 directive will ever take effect.
No.
We will go hybrids without a doubt,
Yeah.
but sole electric, yes, it will be there, but it won't be the sole driving force.
No. I think they may as well have said we're all going to be riding space hoppers in 2035. It's a great ambition and a good wish, but there's nowhere to pump them all up.
Well, there's plenty of hot air in Westminster.
Plenty of hot air. Yeah, it could be a centre of space hopper inflation. Yeah, but no, I think it's a great point. I think hybridisation, the internal combustion. I often wonder, banging my head against the table, but politicians are like it. There's a sound bite. There's an emphasis. There's this net zero economy, and we just got to kill the transport mechanism that we've had in existence for 120 years. We've got to come up with a completely new infrastructure and develop enough energy and plug-in points to solve everyone's point of where they live and how they charge it. That's all just going to happen magically, and we're going to by 2030 do away with it. We're going to change wholesale. We're going to go from walking forwards to walking backwards and not bump into anything. It's just like bonkers, isn't it? So at least I'm kind of encouraged that they've scaled that back. The mad Borisism by we're going to outstrip Europe. We're going to do it by 2030. What a crazy! We all knew he was crazy. He's funny crazy. He's my kind of crazy bloke down the pub. But put him with his hand on the tiller. He's not my kind of airline.
Be a very good ship's captain.
So hybridization is a really good one. I think that's the ultimate mix. Having had a hybrid for many, many years, I think that gives you the economy of fuel consumption. If you're going, we ought to reduce the carbon emissions somewhat. Hybridization's awesome because you go from a car that should be doing 30 to the gallon to one that does 65 or 70. So we've got carbon-based fuels. When we're driving in low emission zones, it flicks into the electric motor. Great. It's not taking a huge, the one thing for me about EVs and hybrids is the split between the battery. So my Volkswagen out there's got a 60 kilowatt hour battery, let's say, and the Prius, the hybrid's got a 6 kilowatt hour battery. I'm getting 10 plug-ins to one EV. So the resources are spread 10 times. Just because we haven't gone full electric. So I think that works as a compromise in terms of cobalt and all the precious metals that live in a battery, and it gives us that fuel stretch solution where we're driving economically and we can go EV where it's necessary. And I think that's the sensible solution that we'll probably end up with. What, Dave, you got any views about what the future is?
I got plenty of views. Cool. Give me a topic and I'll give you an opinion. A half-baked opinion on it.
It's more about technology. So if we picked a change, so what we're going to see, let's fast forward 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years into the future, and we're sat down at tea break, we're reflecting on the stuff that's going on in the
our
workshop.
space hoppers,
on our space hoppers, parked up outside.
I can't, it's not my theory, but it's something I've been looking at a lot. The thing is, the more the more the days go on, the more uncertain the world feels. I think we could all be saying this right now and get wiped out by World War III tomorrow, the way things are going. But anyway, if we are still here in 10 years...
On a positive note.
On a positive, keep it light. I think we're going to see a lot of either fully EV Chinese vehicles or hybrid Chinese vehicles, quite frankly. I think in 10 years' time, we will see a lot on our road. And the reason for that is I think they have. It's not I think. They have. The last few years now, the Chinese car industry has been biding its time. And it's always been a little bit of a joke having a Chinese car, for right or wrong. But they've been developing the technology in the background. And I think what's going to happen is, obviously, if we push for net zero, we might change the date, but I think we're still going to push for net zero. Obviously, because we're out of Europe now, obviously the European manufacturers are going to want to cover themselves. So obviously they're all trying to play catch up building these EVs and hybrids because they've obviously had their foot off the gas for years. So because we're out of the EU, I'm going to think that, or my logic would be, or the logic of other people that I've sort of listened to is, you got this glut of Chinese manufactured cars ready to go. They're not going to try and dump them in Europe because obviously the tariffs will be high on them, because obviously the Europeans will want to go, no, we want you to buy a Volkswagen, e-Golf or whatever it is. So they'll go, okay, we'll dump them on the British because obviously we're outside of the EU. So I think we will see, possibly, and you're seeing things like the Build Your Dreams Dolphin, which they say is a Tesla killer now, and was it Lucky Cat or something like that? The whatever it is, I think we will all be driving around in Chinese.
You'll have your Yang Wang parked outside.
Yeah. There's car parks waiting to come.
I welcome our new Chinese masters, so
but when you look how far BYD are ahead of Volkswagen, and who'd have thought it 5 years ago?
But that's what I mean. They've been biding their time, while obviously Europe has kind of been not knowing where to sit on the pot regarding all this. They've been sat developing the tech, and like what they have with a lot of stuff, really. Maybe don't give them enough credit, and as I say, when it's ready to go, which it pretty much is now, Europe will throw the walls up because they want everyone to buy European manufactured stuff, and the British, or us, we will take on this glut of, relatively tax-free or import duty tax-free cars. That's my logic.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. That they are looking at. I think they're looking at dominating. Whatever your view about China, I don't think the commercial advantages that they're building into their policies and procedures are about world domination on a political front, not just a product front. And you look at what's happened in telecommunications. If you look at what they've done there, and there's a good book by Gordon Carrera that documents the Chinese influence on telecom industry, how they allegedly hacked Cisco, stole the technology and developed Huawei, and Huawei then making telephones and internet backbone and infrastructure and underpricing the incumbent by using the technology they allegedly stole and then regurgitated. I think you can see that replicated in other things. If you look at telephones and if you look at computers and now you look at cars, the model that they've adopted all the way from the 1980s is being reflected in transport at the moment, so batteries and electric cars. Yeah, and I look and again, listening to other people, they believe that intention is slightly nefarious. It's not for positivity.
I couldn't possibly say, ending up on a list somewhere or in a camp somewhere.
But you're already on the list, mate.
You'll be getting broken glass in your chow mein next time you order a takeaway. Yeah. But that joking aside, the domination, they are masters at maybe not necessarily originating great ideas, but perfecting. People think of Chinese product as being rubbish, and some of it is because it's dictated to by the purchaser only on price. What they do, look at the iPhones made in China, so the quality of that product is very high. It's not Chinese product that's bad, it's the dictate about how you want to buy it. So, but when they're those cars are good quality. BYD buses, exactly. All the buses that ship 8,000 people in and out to the Hinkley
You
Point.
even see now, obviously MG, that's sort of a car company that's sort of come out of the ashes of the Rover sell-off. And, whatever your view on it is, and I've seen that they do an EV, I can't remember what their EV is called, but, they offer it at a reasonable price and with a 7-year warranty. And you think, well, if I was in the market to buy a brand new one off the shelf, if it's that price and it comes with a 7-year warranty, well, if any issues, I kick it back to them. It's not going to cost me that much a month to lease. You think, well, why not?
They're dictating. They are dictating commercially. They're winning because they hit those sweet points and manufacturing costs, and the way they're doing it is by beating other products. So that's an interesting. So we think there's going to be more EVs and more hybrids. Anybody else got a view about what it's going to look like when we pull the garage curtains back in 5, 6, 7 years' time?
The more worrying thing is the ownership model rather than the product itself.
Yeah.
Because if we're on, as you just said, you would lease an MG.
Yeah.
You wouldn't buy one, but
Nope.
you'd lease one. So
Nope.
technically, you won't be owning it. Would you really be choosing who's repairing it?
True. You are quite right. I think the nature of cars as a model across the board has become like your iPhone. You'll have it for 3 years, and then you will either chop it in for a new one or it gets binned.
Well, everything's a subscription now.
Yeah.
Everything you
Heated
own,
seats on
you don't
certain
own.
models,
Volvo's subscription only now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shall I share with you my understanding of the Tesla view about car ownership? So Tesla being one of the most popular electric car manufacturers because they make a great product and it's down to a price point, they have a concept in the offing which is subscription. It turns the car ownership on its head, and the thinking is that your car that you own is utilised maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours out of 24. So it's a 10% duty cycle. It's used for 10% of the time, 90% of the time it's not used. And with the autonomous self-driving that they've got, and they've demonstrated that aptly with, calling the car from a car park, and the full self-driving on the highway, they can do that now. Towns and cityscapes are still in their trajectory of development. Their basic principle now is that your car turns in. Imagine the Airbnb model for a car. So you drive your car to work and you park it up out there. And then it joins the Tesla fleet whilst you're at work, running other people around the place. You're getting a share, Tesla having a share of the fee, so it's like an Uber based in Tesla, using your car when you're not. It pays you a dividend on your investment in the car, and you obviously book the time you want to go to work, you book the time you're coming home from work, and it joins the fleet, earning you money whilst you're sat at your office or in your desk. And then essentially then same thing, you drive it home, and then that night when you don't use it, it goes out to do Uber runs during the evening. It drives itself back to the house, plugs itself in, it's charged up, ready for you in the morning. So their model is to sell you, Adam, a Tesla, you use it for the 2 hours, and the other 22, it's earning you money, and actually it turns into a revenue source.
So you hire somebody else's Tesla to do Chippy Friday runs.
Essentially, it becomes an Uber. Yeah. And how does that affect the business model?
Well, yeah. Who's paying the bills?
Who is paying the bills? Yeah. So it's still under warranty. That model is going to last for that 3-year cycle. So when end of year 3, you've had that car has earned you money. You're going to buy probably 2. It's going to be a bit like I've got 3 Teslas on the go now. I've got one working 24 hours, one I drive to work. It's almost like the
new property thing, couldn't it?
Yeah. But that's the model. So the car can self-drive and it can be earning you money.
So that means less workshops, unless you're equipped to deal with Tesla. You're trained and equipped to deal with Tesla.
Well, they're all under warranty. Yeah. They're still in the 3-year window.
Yeah, but they haven't got enough technicians, so they need us in the independent sector to repair them, don't they? So there's a niche maybe coming.
There is maybe a niche coming, but what does that say about how many people need a car? So when you talk about the affordability of electric and the ownership model that Dave, you alluded to really, and young people don't want to have to own a vehicle, they're renting the thing. Then one person owns it and 50 others are using it. There's one key owner and that car's renting itself. How does that change the business model? What does it do for emissions? Well, pretty nifty if they're all electric self-driving taxis, like the Johnny Cab principle in that famous sci-fi film. People don't need to own cars. So I think, that's their view. That's their stated aim in a way. Are we ready for that?
Would you really want your car out doing the 11:30 pub run?
No.
I think it's a next generation or next generation, which probably will happen. Not in our
we hope.
generation.
Unless BYD do it.
Well, I will still have my car.
Well, you never know.
Well, would it disrupt the industry? That's
Yes.
the idea that I'm going. How's that?
We're in trouble.
Well, I don't need a car anymore, so I sell my old diesel.
Yes and no, because then we may have to be more skilled to if the model change and fleets, so you have to be improved to work on a fleet vehicles, but then how that will be good or bad, then we don't know either. So Yeah, I'm with you. We're in trouble.
I think, well,
some of us are in trouble.
Yeah.
The trained and qualified people, the people that are doing CPD and continually looking for new training opportunities and trainers that are offering new opportunities and new training. I think we'll be all right.
I think we're in a Kodak moment.
Yeah.
That we've all got film cameras and we're going, this old digital camera's never. What? Look at the image on that thing. It's never going to catch off. And look what happened to Kodak. You can also cite Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix. And they passed it up because it would never what do you mean, streaming stuff into your telly? What crazy fool decided that? I think we're in a Blockbuster moment, Kodak moment for car transport with the guy Elon Musk that owns that Tesla brand and SpaceX and all the other really, really kooky stuff he's doing. I've got to say, if you look at that man and said, somebody's going to come and out NASA, a private company, are going to get rockets in, have their own satellite in orbit and have their own kind of Wi-Fi system, and they're planning to go to the moon, and they're going to outstrip and outperform a government as a private. What would you said if I said that to you? You'd go, no, joking, man.
007 movies.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. And I think we've got to be seriously. I view that perspective from that man really seriously when he said the thing about the car share and you revenue sharing, it self-driving. I'm going, right, that is a really big industry disruptor potentially. We need, we're all in the room happy we could fix Tesla's stood on a head.
How has one man and one company been allowed to pollute the sky so badly?
Yeah.
When you see the Skynet satellites going past, it's
Skynet.
But how has he got away with polluting the sky for every person on Earth?
Because it's progress, I suppose. The government needs, or we need that. Look at what's happened in Ukraine and where state actors are potentially, stifling free speech. His network is keeping those countries having communication free. There's a really interesting sideline when you look at it going, well, what if there was no Starlink, we wouldn't know what we know. There's a double-edged sword with that. You're right, he's dominated that part of the market. I mean, when you look at it, he's managed to get rockets to land after you've used them. They come back. Yeah, they come back. That's how he's doing. That's how it works. That's how he's out-governmented the government. He said, what if we made a rocket land back down after we used it? That means that the reuse is high. The cost of those missions becomes 10% or 5% of what they would be. When you look at it, what they've achieved as a company. And here is stated aims about Tesla, Johnny Cabs. You've got to look and go, seriously, that has to be on our long-term strategic goal. What are we doing as a business to adapt to that change? That's definitely one thing. So I didn't mean to freak you out there, guys, by saying that, but it's out there. We need to think about it. What's your view then, if we said about the mix of vehicles that are out there? What's the big change that we're going to see in 5 years? And if you were to ask me, I would go away from, I think the EV is a bit of a distraction. I think 2030, 2035, no internal combustions, yada, yada, it's government speak. But what I do think, looking at the sales figures, are there will be far fewer diesels. And that's the big change. So diesel new vehicle sales are sub 10% for the last 5 or 6 years. So the pool of new vehicles entering, there are 40.5 million cars in the UK. 3% of those are electrified at the minute, and the other is a balance between petrol and diesel. If I said to you guys, tell me the work that you've done the last week or month or year, what proportion of those are diesel compared to petrol or electric and hybrid? And generally you'd say 1 or 2% maybe electric, and I'd probably go 70% diesel, 30% petrol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a bit of a numbers geek, so 63% diesel.
Cool.
1.3% petrol EV,
yep.
Lower than hybrid,
yeah.
Lower than the 1.3%, under 1% hybrid.
Yeah, and diesel, petrol. Sorry, the balance. Yeah. So what sort of? Yeah, 35%.
I'm doing a lot of work for car dealerships, used car sales and that, and I'm the opposite. So I'm probably 70% petrol because the car dealers now are swerving diesels.
Yeah.
the used car market I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm doing 70% of the work I'm doing for the car dealers is petrols and hybrids, and 30% is diesels.
Yeah. So the change is coming, and I think that's probably something that we're missing as an industry. When we look at Andy Crook at the Blend recently did a bit about the car market. He went through, as he normally does, the statistics, the analysis with the SMMT figures, and really pulled it down. But we've seen that the stated aim is that the market's shifting. What we've got going on then, as well as no new vehicles being sold, the age of your diesel vehicles will be extending because you can't buy a new diesel now, so people are running them for longer. That means the ultimate repair bills are getting bigger, so the write-off rate of those older ones is increasing. And then steaming up on the outside, we've got the pincer movement. So the net zero government policy was two-tiered. One was, we're going to encourage you with emoluments, and we're going to give you some money off to buy your electric vehicle. And following up the rear, we've got the stick. So you've had the carrot now the stick is low emission zones. We're going to charge you to take your vehicle in. And part of their strategy also was to change the MOT. So in Holland, they've done it first, probably I would say 30 months ago, and they've introduced particulate matter counting. So there's a machine that counts the number of molecules or particles that come out of the exhaust pipe. Germany went with it 2 years ago this January, and it's on the statute books for it to go here. And what I think is that's the pincer movement of you've had the credit to try and swap you over. We're telling you it's a bad thing by charging you low emission zones. And I think now the dirtiest of the diesels is going to be wiped out by the new MOT emission analyzer, which is going to exacerbate the shrinking of that middle market. That's all going to suddenly go, and I think a diesel is going to be like an Austin Allegro. God, you used to see a load of them, and all of a sudden you don't see them anymore, or a Montego. Yeah. And I think that's probably the biggest threat. I don't know what's the room's view on the demise of diesel, the quite rapid demise of diesel. In the next 5 years, we see that shrinking. Is that a plausible thing?
I'd say so.
So how does the garage cope with that?
Great. Never liked them.
Adapt.
Well, I think, obviously, I know there's a little small percentage of EV and hybrids, but I think they will be older within a time we head to the diesel. So I believe the drive shafts are suffer greatly because of instant torque from EV cars, and I think there is something we don't know what is gonna happen to these cars, electric cars. We may have still a lot of things to do with them, and then replacing them, replacing those bits.
Yeah, what happens, do you think, Adam, with the diesel sort of dropping and petrol's now becoming the predominant power source, and then EVs tickling along underneath? Do you think garages are ready to go back to petrol, fixing petrol cars?
Well,
do you think they even know?
I think the reliability of petrols is so much higher than diesels. People are worried that EVs are going to come in and take all the work away. Petrols will take all the work away because we're the amount of emissions problems are next to zero compared to your diesels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if we look back to the olden days of petrols, when's the last time you put a set of injectors in a petrol car, or you replaced the EGR valve, or you did a turbocharger? Because
the thing is, I think the manufacturers are doing a good enough job of that by making petrols that, I mean, if you look at sort of the wet belt ones and this pre-ignition in cylinders, so yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you say, we won't have much work to do. It's like, trust me, as long as Peugeot's still making cars, we'll have plenty of work to do.
Well, you really have to talk down your spark plugs because they're directional.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. But yeah, I think a lot of garages further down, maybe the awareness levels are going to come in for a shock with diesels disappearing. And that for me probably is a big shift, that we're going to see less diesel, more petrol and hybrid. And I think hybrid's the worst of both worlds, isn't it? You've got the electric vehicle stuff and you've got the internal combustion. So you're still needing oils and filters and belts and plugs, and the maintenance is still there. But you've got that bit about electric motors and, IGBTs and inverter converters and charging. So you've got, I think, we're well placed here. We know all about petrols. We know all about EVs. Kind of bring that on, and if the diesels disappear, they're only going to be older vehicles with less value, with higher repair bills. It's not really the market to be in terms of a good business model. So I think that's what I would predict in our tea break in 5 years' time. We'll be sitting there going, yeah. And
we've probably got a duty to start talking about that and raising that awareness about what's come in and the implications that'll have on both the garages and the technicians and the skill levels required to deal with
it, the changes that are needed.
And the owners, because again, they've got to go now from this diesel perception back to a petrol or a petrol hybrid perception. Different driving styles, different vehicle characteristics, everything.
If we look around the table here, I know full well that the petrol drivers outnumber the diesel drivers in this room.
They do.
Yes. And there's one hybrid driver.
Aimer. 5 years time you mentioned, James, but it's like if we take a Toyota as a maybe example. So maybe 5 years ago or 4, when the director of Toyota UK mentioned electric cars are not a future, and now we have another announcement by the Toyota saying they have a battery which gonna go for 1,000 kilometers on one charge.
Yeah.
So where we really, how we can make prediction on stuff if the one company changed so much minds within the 5 years, being like saying there's not a way forward, and then all of a sudden they have a perfect, I believe 10% cheaper or lighter lithium stable battery.
I think the trick is there to hear widely and to listen selectively. And so some of the messages that are coming out, are for commercial benefit. And, when we look at the numbers of vehicles being sold, I think that for me is the tangible, believable evidence. There's no politician behind that. That's the number of vehicles that were sold at our dealerships. And we have to follow the data and go, okay, BMW 1 minute are saying one thing, and then the next minute saying that's because the chief executive has changed. And then Toyota are going on one direction and they're changing. Do you know what? That's all piffle paffle. That's all talk for politics. That's product related stuff. I think we have to look at the sales number, and we're lovely because it's a kind of leading indicator. So whatever sold today is what's in your car park in 3 years. So we know the future. If we look at the numbers, we can definitively predict what's going to happen. So I think hearing widely, listen selectively. Really.
Andy Crook really put that to point at the blend, didn't he? His talk was magnificent. Dissecting the misinformation that's going on around the decline of diesel.
Yeah. The world would have you think that your car park's going to be full of full electric vehicles next year, the year after, and it's not necessarily the case. So it's good to have that conversation out there. Gents, we're coming to the point where I'm going to solicit your magic wishes in a minute. I'm going to talk about the swooping wand, because would you believe it, we've been rattling on a bit, and the time is about nigh. So what we do at the end of the podcast at this stage is we ask the selected members of the panel for their wishes for the industry, and it can be anything at all. It can be a personal goal or aim. It can be for the wider industry. It could be, you can have 2 wishes, an up swoop and a down swoop if you want. And so what we're looking to do really is your own individual passion or motivation for what you might change, for what, if you had the wish that could come true, or a couple of wishes that could come true, and you could fix anything in the blink of an eye, or a swoosh of a wand, what would that be? So I'm going to come to you first, Adam. I'm going to do it in the same direction that we did the names. I'm going to keep gassing a bit so your brain can come up with some magic wishes. So what would you think? If you had wishes, an up swoop and a down swoop, what would you change? What would you make happen? Money was no object. Time was no object. The reality didn't strike, but you could change it. What would it be? What do you think?
So every garage have people who can work the scope.
Okay.
And actually understand what's in behind. And on the down swap with the wish of the magic wand, will be that every garage have a passionate person who actually like to understand what's happened under the bonnet. And I believe if there is a one in the garage, the young ones will follow, because he's got a passion and they can see what's happening, instead of that grumpy person who's never take the opportunity to learn, and only what he can do is saying, hey, because that has to be like that, because I learned that way 20 years ago. No, someone who's passionate, and then that's what I wish to be. Awesome. And that will change the the face of the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, so everyone can scope, and everyone's got a passion, or at least one person in the garage. Yeah, least, they could be different people. I could be a scope and passionate tea maker.
We'll see. I didn't really thought that through.
But they are awesome wishes. Yeah, that's really quite cool. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Adam. Nigel, what are you thinking?
My wish is really for the next generation. I've given up on this one. So,
you're spending too much time with us, of course.
You old cynic, you.
I would wish for the next generation of technicians to come through with desire for continuous learning. Not you've got your level 3 piece of paper, that's the over and done with. The desire to continue every day is a school day.
Yeah.
And go out and seek the knowledge, because nobody will bring it to you.
No, brilliant. Yeah, so we're banning the term fully trained.
Yes.
Yes, because we never are. No, that is really good. And I think that dovetails with what Adam's saying now about, and I think in our workplaces that we're in, our own passion is probably leading our co-workers and colleagues and people that we interact with to have that passion to go and get better. But yeah, that instilled desire to improve and to learn, daily. I think it's weird because I've got that, and I look at others and I can't quite fathom how you don't have it, because that's my paradigm. I'm living in my own bubble that everyone's like that. But knowing that they're not is quite heartbreaking. So yeah, we give them that mega enthusiasm injection at birth rather than vitamin K. We jab them up the bum with the scope jab and also the enthusiasm bug. Okay, that's awesome. Any down swoops, or is that?
No, I think that would be powerful enough.
That would be powerful enough. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Nigel. Yeah, really good one. Dave?
Well, again, it's probably going to be a reiteration of what you said, really. But yeah, I often get very frustrated because I hold myself up to incredibly high standards, which are probably I'm probably a bit too harsh on myself. But when other people don't reach those standards, as you say, you kind of think, how do you not want to do this? How do you not want to be, how can you just sort of go through life, just go in, So yeah, maybe if everyone kind of, up the game a bit, or maybe if I can temper my emotions a bit, or reach that sort of Zen balance, I think that would be good.
Set fire to less Peugeots.
That's it, yeah. So that balance, I think.
There's no harsher critic than the voice in your head.
No.
Yeah, and there are lots.
Yeah.
There are lots. Yeah. So that's the big one, isn't it? Find the balance, should we say?
Yeah.
To wrap it up in a neat word. And if I did a little downstroke, just a little one. Can we have max power body kits back on cars?
Yeah.
Is it time we whatever happened to that? Come on, bring that back. There you go.
Bring back the dimmer.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No, that's really quite cool. Yeah. Good stuff. Brilliant. Simon.
Yeah, well, basically, I'm just reiterating what Nigel and Dave said. But I'd take it a step further and say mandatory at least 2 to 3 weeks training that's properly accredited.
Yeah.
And then added to within the licensing scheme.
Yeah.
On the downward side is more teamwork in garages.
Yeah.
Supporting one another.
A more inclusive work team. So no, I think that's completely achievable. I think with the licensing to have that mandated CPD and that element of having to keep up, I think that's part of the scheme. I think for me and my outward vision, that is part of the deal. And I think that would drive the enthusiasm. As you were saying there, Nigel, people would join the industry knowing that that's part of the gig, because people now, like you say, come out of college with level 2 or 3, and that's it, you're fully trained and don't do any more training. It's licensing would help encourage that positivity. So no, they're good wishes. Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Okay, Steve.
Well, I already had 2 from the previous podcast, didn't I? But I'm going to go for 2 more.
You're allowed.
Yeah, I would say I wish everybody that wanted to could come and experience the journey we've had over the last 5 years here at Tech Topics, irrespective of whatever. Yeah, anybody that wanted to, I wish they could. I wish their employer would pay for them.
Yeah.
They'd find a way to come and do and have the fun and the comradeship that we found over the last 5 years here. And the second wish Hi, Mike. Can you sort your questions out in multiple choice, please?
Yeah, that's a good that wish. Yeah, that wish could be done. Yeah, we could achieve that wish. Yeah, the questions. Yeah, definitely. I think whoever's writing, I think the questions might be done at the Christmas party. I think. Yeah, or maybe they come out the Christmas crackers. Yeah. There are definitely room for improvement, and we do feedback regularly to our IMI member of importance about the questions. And I'll keep raising it. I am a little bit frustrated, I cannot lie, that some of the questions are, not necessarily appropriate. And I get the fact there's a big question bank and they're kind of selected at random, but they need to be tuned somewhat. If it was a car, it's running on 3 cylinders, spitting back through the carbon.
A bit like that bank. Polo out there.
I still feel it.
It stings.
Yeah. Oh no, awesome, chaps. Listen, that was a brilliant chat. Thanks ever so much for giving up your free time in your evening to gas away on the Harmonic Motion podcast at Technical Synchromesh. I think we've covered some really good ground. I really appreciate your candor and your views and your perspectives. They are critical and important. And as I say, my mission here, talking to people like you and using the platform that we've got here, is to get those comments further up. And as you said, Adam, maybe try and synchronize and harmonize the leadership of the industry with the grassroots and the views. Again, we've had a bit of fun along the way. Yeah, second what you say there, Steve, the comradeship, you guys are awesome as a group. You've been on the journey that you've been on, and taking that, putting yourself under pressure, being the best you can be. And we feel privileged really to have got this going in a way, to set that direction, to facilitate your journeys and to be part of it as well. And we love to see you succeed, and we love to see you get the reward of your hard work and, achieving that goal and driving that standard on for yourself and holding yourself accountable. And you guys are all living the wishes that you've bestowed upon others, so that's great that you would wish others had that same thing within. So finally, just like to formally thank you all for participating. And
thank you.
We'll look forward to catching
We'll see you soon on a training course near you.
On a training course near you. Awesome. Great stuff.